What's going on, Fourth and Inches podcast listeners? You got Kevin Stevie P. What's going on, Kev?
What's going on, Steve? How you making out today? What's going on, listeners? It's our daily fantasy, or our weekly daily fantasy show where we're going to give you each give you a lineup to play. So, without further ado, I guess we can get into it.
All right. I guess I'll go first. I actually have two lineups, guys. There's a bunch of guys that I like this week, and I kind of want to get them into some lineups. So I'll go with my first 50-50 lineup. My first 50-50 lineup of this week is actually Matt Ryan at quarterback going up against New England. Really like the matchup. Think it's going to be a high-scoring game, kind of like the Super Bowl. And, I think the Falcons, the way they lost that game last year, they kind of want to put it on the New England Patriots if at all possible. And I can see Matt Ryan having a good game. I got Zeke Elliott going against the 49ers. Enough said. I got Shady McCoy in my lineup this week. Really like Shady against Tampa Bay. We all saw what AP did to them last week. So, I'm looking for a similar stat line with McCoy. I got Michael Thomas. He had a bad game last week, so I think a lot of people are going to fade him this week. But to me, I think that's a mistake. I think Drew Brees, game script last week with the defense scoring as many times as they did, he didn't have to throw the ball as much, which hurt Michael Thomas. But I like him this week. Mike Evans going up against Buffalo. I know it seems like a tough matchup, but we all saw what AJ did to them before the bye week. And, Mike Evans is a similar type wide receiver to AJ Green, so I could see Mike Evans getting off against Buffalo. I went with a cheap wide receiver here because I obviously went with some stars. I went with Ricardo Lewis. Last week he didn't really see the targets, but, the two previous games before that had 7 targets in both of those games, so I'm, hoping he gets back to that 7-target range and gives us some good fantasy numbers. I got Jimmy Graham as my tight end. I like Jimmy Graham going up against the New York Giants, who have been one of the worst defenses passing, trying to stop the tight end. So I think Jimmy Graham could have a good game this week. I went with my unusual non-Ryan suck-up kicker in Randy Bullock. Just like the overall in that game, and figure, he's going to be kicking some field goals. And then the Chargers defense I went with at home against Denver.
Okay, I like that. I think we have a couple mutuals in there. At quarterback, I went with Dak Prescott. Dak's been lighting it up this year. He's played very well. I actually drafted Dak in one of my leagues as a backup. Actually, I think it's our league, Steve, and I drafted him as a backup, and now he's my starter because he's been lights out pretty much all season. So Dak is a good matchup against San Fran. I went with running backs. I have Jerick McKinnon and AP. Jerick McKinnon has a nice matchup against Baltimore this week. Baltimore, after that first week, kind of seems like they've just been, tail spinning downward. And, AP, you saw what Leonard Fournette just did against the Rams. The Rams score a lot of points. They also give up a lot of points. So I expect AP to keep it going this week. Wide receiver, I have Michael Thomas as well. Like you said, last week it was kind of not his game. The defense kind of handled it and allowed Mark Ingram to kind of shine. So I think this week the Drew Brees and Michael Thomas kind of get back on track against Green Bay, who we said yesterday have all their cornerbacks are hurt. So Michael Thomas I think is a good play in daily. I have Brandon Cooks. I think Brandon Cooks has a very good game against Atlanta. They brought him in New England for a reason, and I think this matchup is going to be pretty good because, like you said, it's probably going to be a high-scoring game. So I think Cooks can have a pretty good game in there. I went with Alshon Jeffrey. No Josh Norman. Rashad Breeland is apparently hurt as well. He suffered a hamstring injury, and so therefore the two big cornerbacks for Washington are hurt. And I think that allows Alshon maybe to get off in this game. He hasn't really had his opportunities because he's had a lot of good cornerback matchups on him. But this is obviously one he might be able to exploit. I also went with Jimmy Graham at tight end. I think that the corners for the Giants are pretty locked down. I think the Giants' defense is pretty talented. We saw last year that they have talent. So I think with the situation they're going through on the offense, with all the receivers hurt, the defense kind of knows it has to kind of lock down. But with that being said, the corners may shut down the receivers, but Jimmy Graham is going to be open in the middle of the field because I don't think Landon Collins is that great of a cover safety. And then my kicker is Justin Tucker. They play Minnesota. I don't see them scoring a lot of points, so I feel like if they get down the field, they'll probably be kicking field goals. And so I love Justin Tucker. I think he's the best kicker in the NFL. And I went with the Seahawks defense because last week was a mirage. The Giants are not going to be, grounding and pounding everyone. I think they kind of took Denver. I think Denver took them lightly, and I don't think that's going to happen again. So I think this week Seattle puts the paws on.
I hear that. Real quick, I'm going to go over my other lineup. I like I said, I liked a lot of players this week. So, either one of my lineups, if you guys want to try it out and maybe mix and match. But like I told you guys before, I like going either super expensive at quarterback or super cheap. So on this lineup, I went super cheap. I went with Brett Huntley. I just feel like Green Bay and New Orleans, I just don't think the New Orleans defense is legit. I think they're scoring a lot of fantasy points, so they're a good fantasy defense. But I think they're going to have a hard time stopping Green Bay, even with, no Aaron Rodgers. I still like Brent Huntley. I think, he could be a, 70% of what Aaron Rodgers is. And if that's the case, I like it. So
I think Huntley's going to get a good amount of rushing yard. I expect Huntley to use his legs a little bit more than Rodgers does, and that Rodgers uses his legs a lot. So
exactly,
I think Huntley can run. So Huntley may get some rushing yards in there as well.
And if he gets you 40 yards rushing and a rushing TD, then that's
exactly.
That's 10 points in Fanduel.
That's 10 right off the bat.
Exactly. So I like that. I like that rushing floor with him. So I also went with Kareem Hunt playing tonight. I've talked over and over and over about how bad, San Diego is at stopping the run. And, Kareem Hunt just seems to be a really good running back. So, I'm playing him. And I said San Diego, I meant Oakland. But, they are having a tough time on defense, period. So I like Kareem in this game. Also went with Zeke again, Michael Thomas again. I'm actually playing Amari Cooper. I know a lot of people are falling off Amari. They're not really, happy with the way he's played, and I understand that. But for DFS, that doesn't matter. For me, Amari Cooper is going up against the Chiefs tonight, and I feel like that Amari Cooper is going to, at least have a long touchdown in this game. The Kansas City Chiefs have given up the most 40-plus yard touchdowns so far this season, and, Amari Cooper, I think, could actually have a good game tonight, and I like him. Rashard Matthews going against Cleveland, enough said. I also went with Jimmy Graham again. And, of course, I had to throw Ryan Suckup in as kicker. And I went with the Cardinals defense because I just don't think the Rams are going to score, a crazy amount of points against the Cardinals. I think it could be a lower scoring game than people expect. And, I like the Cardinals defense.
I like it. I will say, I'm not big on Amari Cooper this week. I think he turns it around eventually, but Kansas City always just seems to have the Raiders' number. That's my only thing with a good Cooper this week.
I hear you. All right, guys, so that is the end of our Thursday night podcast, our DFS lineups. If you guys like our DFS lineups and you guys want to hear our Sunday lineups, just hit us up on Facebook. Our Facebook information is Fourth and Inches Podcast, the number 4 TH inches podcast, fantasy football podcast. So if you search us, you'll find us. The emblem is a little championship belt. So same emblem that you'll see on our iHeartRadio podcast. Same icon. So if you find us, hit us up on there and let us know you guys want Sunday DFS lineups, and we'll throw them in. If you guys have questions, hit us up on that. Any questions you guys might have. I guess it would be our Fourth and Inches podcast telephone number that you can call and hit us up. If you want to text us, is on there. So any information you guys need, hit us up, and we'll be happy to answer your questions or anything like that.
Sounds good.
All right, guys. So, like I said, good luck tonight in DFS, and we will catch you we'll catch you in a couple of minutes. We're going to do our rankings for quarterbacks, tight ends, and defenses. So, peace out, guys.
All right, take it easy, everybody.